Legislator Hathaway.
Here.
Legislator Burkler. Here. Legislator Burns has been excused. Legislator Gilbert.
Here.
Legislator Chartrand.
Here.
Legislator Morahan. Here. Legislator Leviker.
Here.
Legislator Osborne.
Here.
Legislator Mellenbach.
Here.
Legislator Dolphoff.
Here. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge. Bill, if you would lead us in the invocation.
Father, as always, I always say and I always appreciate all the blessings you bestow upon us. Many of them we don't acknowledge, many of them we don't even know, but all of them we appreciate. We thank you for looking out for us. And Father, I wish you would put your helping, healing hand on those in need. You know their needs. Please help them. And please put your protective hand on those that are taking care of them, the family, the friends, the caregivers, especially the medical staff. Help them to be able to continue to do the good work that they're doing. And would you please help our country? Help us get back to being the way we started, one nation under God, in the ways we still should be. Please guide us in that path. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Raise the flag for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the May 3rd board meeting minutes have been distributed and stand approved if there are no amendments. Next, we have a proclamation commemorating some South Louis girls who are much faster than any of us are.
Proclamation commemorating South Louis Central School Girls Varsity Cross Country Team. Whereas the 2021-2022 South Louis Central School Girls Varsity Cross Country Team won the Section 3 Class D1 championship title, which earned them the privilege of competing in the state Class D race. And whereas the Lady Falcons won the distinguished New York State Class D championship title on Saturday, November 13th, 2021 in Shenango, New York. And whereas sisters Bryn and Lexi Bernard had a very respectable first and second place finish in the state Class D race, followed by their teammates Mallory Krager, Grace Bailey, Madison Rubart, and Shelby McCraft. And whereas this was the second state Class D championship title in school history, coaches Jack Bernard and Michelle Leindecker are recognized for their knowledgeable guidance of the team through the season, especially in light of the ongoing pandemic. And whereas each member of the South Louis Central School Girls Varsity Cross Country Team is a source of pride to their school, community, and Lewis County. The Board of Legislators deems the team worthy of recognition for their admirable representation and outstanding performance at the state level. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Lewis County Board of Legislators, I, Lawrence L. Dahlhoff, do hereby recognize and commend the 2021-2022 South Louis Central School Girls Varsity Cross Country Team for their distinguished character and achievements.
Good job, thank you. So if you girls would like to come forward here, we have a plaque for each of you individually. Congratulations. Job well done.
Thank you.
And we have two coaches. If we are congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Got one there.
Good job, guys.
Report of the Financial Rules Committee, Rule 6. Cassandra, please.
The Finance and Rules Committee has met and they recommend to waive rules to act upon late resolutions.
Need a motion? Lisa, second by. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So before we get into public hearing and privilege of the floor, we have our project managers, Nick and Jim Garrido here, AP Construction. If you guys would like to give a short report on our capital projects.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to report. Again, the project is on schedule and on budget. I couldn't be any happier with where we are at this point in the project. And Nicholas will give you a couple updates on the schedule on where we're at.
Construction wise, I continue to strip and stockpile all the soil down at the new county highway garage facility. The wash bay, last month, the foundations and masonry walls went up. The maintenance garage is well ahead of schedule. Foundations and the framing has started there. Next week is trusses. And then later this month, the digging for the foundations of the cold storage building will start. Thank you.
Did you have any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Jim?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys. Okay, public hearing. We have a public hearing, introductory law number 1-2022, a local law continuing an additional mortgage tax for mortgages on real property situated in Lewis County. This will be open for 30 minutes. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on that item? Okay, we will leave that open and we'll move on to privilege of the floor. So we have several people that would like to speak. We would like to remind you that you're limited to 5 minutes. And we will start with Carol Murray.
My name is Carol Murray, and I live on Trinity Avenue in Malvern. After the recent positive report from the JCC Lewis County Quality of Life Survey, I read a lot of online comments in regards to the double play Lewis County Community Center that's been proposed. A lot of the comments refer to it as, I don't want our taxes going to another recreation. We have enough of recreation for the children. And I think this is a misconception. Granted, it's one aspect of the proposed facility, but the mission of double play is more than recreation. It's mind and body, hence the pun on words. It's for the general population of Lewis County. Functional fitness more than physical fitness. The goal to improve total body and mental health of the general population of Lewis County. This is how I got involved. My dad was an 86-year-old, hale, healthy, man who hunted and climbed mountains to trout ponds, sleeping in a tent. And 6 months later, he had a stroke. This once proud man was reduced to wheelchair walker use. He was fed, cared for, and bathed by females. I brought him to Double Play, and a limited exercise plan was developed for him. First had to be signed off by his personal physician. That interaction with other men did more for his mental health than physical activity. I'm not a gym rat myself. 4 years ago, my knee began to bother me. I don't like going to doctors. But by the time I was reduced to using a cane and descending stairs one step at a time, had to get the physical therapy, and was told if you strengthen your leg muscles, you can avoid surgery. Dan developed a plan for me. I now go skiing with my grandchildren. I want to point out the programs that are offered presently, they have individualized sessions. I learned that there's other people who've had strokes that do frequent and get help from Double Play. There's people who want to gain improved functionality, and they're assisted in private sessions. But the classes that are given, which I participate in, there's walking classes, wellness classes, classes for the elderly, children's fitness classes. Double Play works with specific groups, and they can develop programs. Dan presently is taking certification courses to work with Parkinson's disease. A community center will provide opportunities that the present location can't. If you look at the plans of the new facility, they want a kitchen and have a nutritionist there to give classes for people with diabetes, gluten, celiac disease, specific dietary needs. There's also a paved walking trail around the outside of the facility that will have exercise stations, not just for the fit, but for wheelchair people. Also, which I thought was neat, a proposed playground for children with sensory needs, children in wheelchairs, disabled. There's no such playground in Lewis County. A classroom for yoga instruction, guest lectures for wellness. It would be an all-purpose room that could be utilized by specialized groups. Additionally, which I heard through the grapevine, someone was asking if a daycare would be in the plans. There isn't, but we all know it's definitely a much needed service in our county. Don't we want to be forward thinking and creating a facility that would demonstrate a strong, vital county that strives to meet the needs of all the citizens? An active community center would not only be a draw for new residents, people coming in, but might be a little pearl in retaining our young graduates from leaving Lewis County. I read in the paper this morning that you're soon going to vote on appropriating money for converting the rail system to multi-use trails, which I think is awesome. But ask yourself, what do you think will appeal to the general population of Lewis County? A facility that provides a multitude of programs that they can't get in their little hamlets, or a hiking trail? Double Play means mind and body. It's responsive to the needs and interests of our Lewis County citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Before we move on to the next speaker, we missed one public hearing. We need to open a public hearing on findings of the current CDBG project number 636 MH 353-19 Lewis County Manufactured Housing Replacement Program. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on that?
Jalen Heems with Snowbelt Housing Company. In December 2019, Lewis County applied for $510,000 in funding through the Community Development Block Grant Program for the Lewis County Manufactured Mobile Home Replacement Program. A public hearing was held on December 3rd, 2019 in preparation for the application, and a second public hearing is being held today. so that residents can, or to provide residents with the opportunity to offer any comments on the accomplishments of the grant. The purpose of the program is to provide low and moderate income manufactured or mobile home homeowners with grant funds to replace dilapidated and unsafe mobile homes, install permanent foundations, and replace wells or septic systems if needed. The program allows homeowners to remain in their homes by improving health, safety, and energy efficiency of their residents. All projects must meet code as well as housing quality standards as developed by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This application was successful and the county was awarded $510,000. A grant agreement was signed with the program effective date of March 12, 2020, and the grant agreement stipulated that all funds must be expended within 24 months, which would have been March 14, 2022. The county did receive permission for one extension, so the new deadline will be December 1st, 2022. The application anticipated that 5 substandard mobile homes that are occupied by low and moderate income households and are located on scattered sites throughout the county would be replaced. 18 single-family household applicants were evaluated prior to the application, and the estimated coverage for construction costs per mobile home was $81,525.67. For a total construction project cost of $407,628.35. The program is now nearing completion, and there are currently 4 individual projects in various stages of completion. The rehab work includes the replacement of single-family mobile home units, disposal of the dilapidated units, construction of permanent foundation, and installation of new units. 3 of the mobile home units will be replaced with new mobile homes, and 1 will be a stick-build option. All projects were awarded to income-qualified Lewis County residents. 1 of the households is occupied by 2 senior citizens. 1 household is occupied by a female head of household. 1 is occupied by an adult with a disabling condition, and 1 is occupied by a young family of 6. There is no permanent displacements expected. However, 1 household was temporarily relocated during the installation process. The program was truly countywide in that 2 homes were located in Copenhagen, 1 was in Port Leiden, and 1 was in Turin. The project will be completed for an approximate total construction cost of $436,987, which is $29,358.65 more than anticipated in the application. The average CDBG assistance attributed to each of the 4 active projects is $109,246.75, with a range from $94,890 to $165,000. The increase in construction costs and the reason for the extension was the unforeseen material cost increase, the shipping delays for replacement of mobile homes, and a reduction in the eligible contractor workforce statewide, which has resulted in limited manufacturer replacement entities. I just want to mention too, there was no sewer or septic replacements, but 1 of the mobile homes did have an accessible entrance created, and then 1 replaced all the electrical boxes leading to the pool. Is there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this current CDBG project? If not, we will hold that open for 30 minutes, and we will continue with privilege of the floor. The next person who would like to speak is Larry Cote. I said that properly.
Larry Picola, sir. So my name is Larry Picola. I'm retired from the United States Army and the New York State Police. I'm here on behalf of the landowners that have land along the railroad bed in Lewis County that you guys are trying to obtain. You did a survey through JCC, and your findings were that like 87% of the people were in favor of it. Well, in just under, or nearly a week, myself and some fellow landowners obtained nearly 400 signatures of landowners and taxpayers in Lewis County that are opposed to it. Personally, I talked to 40 people, and I didn't find anybody that was interested in this trail system. I understand what you're trying to do for the community, but we do not want it on our land. Mr. Pichet said the trail system in the village of Lowville would be walking and biking only. Outside of Lowville, apparently they can go by my camp 60 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour on snowmobiles or four-wheelers, and that's okay. Why are we held to a different standard than Lowville? Because we live in the country? It just doesn't seem fair to me. I believe Mr. Berkeley said you were in favor of the trail system. Well, then put it on your land.
Would love to.
We don't want it on ours. And I guess that's about all I have to say. Here's your signatures. I don't know if it'll make a difference, but I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Next, we have Joanne Dixon.
A lot of you remember me from 2010, 2012. I was here opposing the same proposal. You know, there's quite a few of you there that know who I am. This resolution 124 is a far stretch for the use of American Rescue Plan Act money. This money should be used for the economic impact that the COVID-19 had on our county. We have trails. We certainly don't need to use this one-time influx of money to develop new trails or eminent domain or railroad that is not in favor of any acquisition. Your only concern is tourism, not the taxpayers that live here 365 days a year trying to make a living. I've had correspondence with the county manager, Ryan, and in one of his emails, he suggested that if we didn't like the trail behind our house, that perhaps there would be another part of our property that we would like to put the trail on. We're opposed to any trail being on a railroad bed, and we certainly are against relocating it on another part of our property. In fact, I came across this statement that was given to agencies in the county. Let me read it to you. Utilizing resources to enhance quality of life. It is further declared the policy of the legislature to encourage the use of agricultural land for recreational uses which are consistent with the primary use of such land, while at the same time promoting additional tourism and employment opportunities and income for landowners in rural areas, and enhancing the quality of life of persons not otherwise able to obtain access to agricultural land for recreation. Why is it that you think the agricultural landowners need to share their property with the state, county, or any other person that doesn't own land? Would it be okay if we, landowners, came to your house and sat in your front lawn or your backyard? That's exactly what this whole with this that I just read says, because that's what you're saying. It's okay because it's going to enhance my quality of life. It might enhance my quality of life to come sit in your yard. There is no mention ever of the value of agriculture in this county, which generates $12 million a year. Our forefathers agreed to a railroad for prosperity of developing a transportation corridor for industry, not for recreation. We are struggling to put gas in our cars, to buy groceries, to pay a mortgage. And just surviving this recession have a lot of people in dire straits. There are families in this county that can't put food on their table. And all you can think about is trails. Shame on you. When you get to the resolution 124, I ask you to please consider opposing this resolution and put the $1.5 million of ARPA money to something that will help all Lewis County and not just the people that float in here and tourism. Thank you.
Next, we have Lori Halliday.
Hello, legislators. I'm Lori Halliday. I'm from the Railway Historical Society of Northern New York. We are located in the Krogan Depot. Some of you have actually rode the rails with us, like Lisa's rode the rails with us. There's probably been some others that have visited our museum from time to time. And Brian, you give the Railway Historical Society, on behalf of our legislators in our county, $1,000 to $2,000 every year, because we are a non-for-profit 501c3 museum. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that is correct. So you are well aware about us and what we do. Our depot is one of the oldest buildings in town. Krogan had 2 fires, but this building did not burn. We have speeder car rides. We have a 1918 steam locomotive Shea engine, the Black Beauty that sits out front. That's just in Krogan. Laval Engine House over here, which is the other end of the Laval River Railroad, which is deemed eligible to be on the historic register. Don't know if you'd know that or not. And by the way, in your resolution, it says abandoned. The railroad is not abandoned, and I will repeat it again. It is not abandoned. So in that resolution that you are voting tonight, that is wrong. It is not an abandoned railroad at all. The Laval end here, the depot over here, that sits our very first diesel engine for the Laval River Railroad. It's 47. Runs like a top. And we have an 1898 Rutland Railroad car. It's passenger freight combined. That's what, as you guys know, the ones of you who's been around here for years, big tourist rail line. And rail lines are big business for tourist industry. Very, very big. And I have one comment that I will end with. But before that, I want to thank you for your support over these years. And we just ask for your continued support. Years ago, when this all came up before, it was promised by the board. The Laval River Railroad in its entirety would be safe. I speak to each one of your hearts right now, each one. We need to know our history. It is important that future generations know this and how the railroad is the backbone of the industry for the United States. We need to preserve it, and we ask desperately for your help in doing that. Don't take the railroad away from us, please. We are just asking for your full support so we can get more developed in what more we want to accomplish. And with your help, I know we can. It takes all facets of tourism to come in. I'm an ATV rider myself. Yes, I do. And I have been up on the hill before. I fish, hunting, the whole 9 yards. But we also need the rail, because not everybody likes ATV. Not everybody likes snow sled. You need all aspects of that tourism to draw more of those people that we want to come to our lovely Lewis County, right? We need that aspect. And we are a hidden gem, the Railway Historic Society. And we ask for your support for the railroad. We desperately are asking for your help. And I will leave you with a tourist who just came down from Norwood, husband and wife, rail connected. They went for a ride. They said, wow, this is the best ride ever. It beats, guess what? Findera. Findera doesn't have what we have here in Krogan for Lewis County, the views. They don't have it. We have it. So that speaks a lot about our little, and we may be little, but yet we're big. We are big in the hearts of the railroad industry worldwide. Rail tourism is a big business. So I'm speaking to each one of your hearts. Please protect the Lava Beach River Railroad in its entirety, and it's deemed eligible to be on the historic register too. The bridge in Lava that spans the Black River is actually a swing bridge built for canal boats. Did you know that? That's unusual. We need to protect it for future generations. Thank you very much for your time. And again, thank you for any support and help that you can give us. And the survey for JCC, we were not included on the survey. We should have been on that survey. Because on the presentation that Ryan Pichet had, Ryan, you said Lions Falls was the only one that was active use. It is not. We are active up here. So that is wrong as well. JCC survey, we should have been on it. The Railway Historical Society, it's being used. We even had rail bikes there on the 21st. That's big business too. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lori. I'd like to mention a couple of things. We have always been supportive of your efforts. We have written letters to both you and Ron for the Railroad Historical Society. We've written letters to GBT recognizing that you would like to do rail biking and have offered that we would like to see that continue. So, just so that, and I know that Ryan sent you in the Historical Society a email last night outlining exactly that. So, move on to Mr. Ron Trottier.
I am Ron Trottier. I'm CEO of Railstar Corporation. I would like to make sure everybody understands that I'm also president of the Railroad Historical Society of Northern New York. I'm not going to speak for very long. Lori did a fine job. That's why we have her. But basically, I'm also in the private end of things with the Railstar Corporation. I've both invested and operated and started up 2 successful tourist operations around the country. One a steam operation in Colorado and one a dinner train in Florida. As all of you, I'm sure, understand that a lot of recreation has really taken it on the chin in terms of my area, the tourist trains. The last 2 years have been brutal. Many museums have failed entirely. Our little museum up there in Croghan is a wonderful little place, as Lori has described. It has been quite successful in attracting people, not the numbers that we would truly like to get, because having a building with a lot of artifacts, static artifacts by themselves alone is not enough to attract a lot of people. You need other things, and that's why I got involved in the rail bikes, for example. 3-4 years ago, I studied it very quickly and thought it really had legs as a business and attracted a lot of people to Saranac Lake. We had pictures in our Cape Vincent newspaper of ladies that went up there 6 together and visited there and had dinner and that type of thing. So it's not a restrictive type of railroading at all. It's quite simple, it's calm, if you will, and it's very safe. And it doesn't require the magnitude that some of the trains, the full-size trains, require. So really, we're trying to start with the rail bikes. This year, we are just introducing it. It's going to take at least a scattered season this year to get into the full-blown operation of next year. We have hired an agency in New Jersey that does ticket programs. I've worked with them in the past, and they're developing one now. They also are developing a website for the rail bikes. I would like to express my shock and surprise at the resolution that is proposed here this evening, because as Lori pointed out, the railroad is not even abandoned. It takes a process to go through Washington rail authorities to actually abandon the railroad. eminent domain, I'll leave that to the lawyers to speak to. I'm not, I'm an engineer, I'm not an attorney. But nevertheless, would like to appreciate Ryan's letter. I did read it to all members of the society. The largest flaw I saw in it is, beyond not abandoned, is the fact that the expenditure of these funds, $1.5 million, and then somehow allowing pieces of the operation to operate. My future and the future of the Historical Society really counts on having the railroad, quote, in operation. Not this 3 miles is one thing and this next 4 miles is another trail. The rail line has to stay together. Without it, there's very little sense, and you won't have the potential that you have to operate one whole section with rail bikes and another whole section with small trains, up to and including possibly a steam locomotive. We have an operable steam locomotive that needs work, but it's going to take grant money or something to get it going. There's other ways of having a full-blown steam operation or diesel. I purchased the diesel operation a year and a half ago. It was taken off the truck up from Pennsylvania. It's been reconditioned. However, I can't bring it across. I couldn't last year bring it across the street because of crossing storm. That's since been replaced. But that diesel is perfectly capable of hauling a few cars to Carthage, for example, or up the hill to Croton. So these are things that are going to need the whole railroad intact. It just can't be done piecemeal. I cannot speak for the Lions portion. That's GVT's, and it's a totally different operation. You can't move large pieces of equipment easily and operate something over a different portion of the line. Railstar has made a significant investment in Lewis County. We've purchased the Old Memories Restaurant and have put a lot of money into trying to restore it and get it in operation so that we also can run a marine operation between Lowville and Carthage. That would include boats and maybe ride backs with trains. There's all kinds of things that could happen with that. But the investment in the rail bikes, the railroad machinery, and the real estate, the Lowville yard, the total is somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000. I have not asked for any money for any sort of financial support. The museum certainly would appreciate continued support from the county. But by itself, the museum will have a tough time existing long range. It needs the other excitements that go with the rail industry, the tourism part of it. So I kind of leave it that I hope you folks will fully explore what the projected costs are for converting any part of that trail to rails to trails. I mean, it gets very costly. A part that I could see where you could have a trail is through Lowville, for example. You could have a walking trail alongside the tracks. There's at least a dozen instances of that I can think of around the country that have that through a town. But you can't do it out in the middle of nowhere because they're not finding people that want to walk on these desolate trails, let alone ride a bicycle. And they exist all over the country in that condition. So that's probably blown to 5 minutes. I appreciate your time listening to me. If you do have any questions for me, I'd be happy to make arrangements to come over and talk to people or whatever.
Once again, Ron, we have indicated in the past that we support your efforts and your endeavors. We have offered to have meetings. You've chosen to do it in a public forum. That's fine. We continue to be hopeful for a conversation.
Well, like I said, the COVID has kept everything bottled up, including myself.
Okay.
It's been a tough go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Gwen Myers.
1 Myers, 7007, West Laurel. So thank you for having us all here today. This is important to all of us. We've all heard the saying, build it and they will come. Well, they're coming and we still haven't built it. Through double place programs, we can pay it forward. Through keeping kids away from drugs, starting with the youth, we have so many programs, keeping our older generation less Medicare and Medicaid bills. Believe in us, because we believe in us. We believe in ourselves, or we wouldn't be trying time and time again to have your approval to accept this program that we're trying to bring. So look at the future of Lewis County. Jerry Kerr, our Lewis County CEO, wanted Lewis County to be the healthiest county in New York State. Through Double Play, we can help that happen. We're making it happen. Through getting the county involved and getting the best equipment and programs for the people. Double Play can do this for our county. Believe in us because we believe in you. We believe that you want for a better future for generations of this wonderful, thriving Lewis County. Thank you.
Thank you. With respect to the community center, I would comment that we are supportive of the community center and willing to have a conversation with anyone. If you would like to have a meeting to discuss that, that would be wonderful. We just financially can't carry that whole burden. So I think that's where the stumbling block is. But perhaps if we get together, we can figure something out. So we'll move on to Leo Salmon, please.
Hi, my name is Leo Salmon. I live at East State Street, Lowville. I've been a teacher at Lowville Academy and coach at Lowville Academy for 37 years. As I go through, particularly the last couple years, watching our kids suffer through COVID, as we all did as adults, but the kids really have suffered. I'm here to support Double Play Community Center also. And after the words that you said, we appreciate any support that we can get. And we talk about all the things for adults and things like that. And I'm here just a little bit to talk about the youth itself and the kids that I see. In high school, they have interscholastic sports that are available to them. But I really think we need to provide things for the younger kids, and in particular during the winter season where they don't have the ability to go to Watertown to play basketball or to play soccer or lacrosse or whatever they want to do. I've had 3 girls who went through Lowville Academy. They're all adults now. We were lucky enough that we could afford to take them to these different places to experience this. And I think what gets lost sometimes in youth sports, we let them go play around, but the things that kids get from sports, you can't measure. I'm sure a majority of you here have played sports, whether it be youth sports or whether it be interscholastic or even at the college level. What they get out of that, the ability to communicate with others, the ability to work together, in particular at a time where I see the isolation of these kids, brought on primarily through COVID, through their cell phones and everything else. We will sit there in my classroom at the end and I'll say, okay, let's just talk to each other. And it's like pulling teeth to get kids to talk to each other. Sports makes them talk to each other. I mean, it's one of the big things that the community center is trying to bring about. And I appreciate any support that you can give, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mervyn Moser, please.
Hi, my name is Merv Mosier. I am a farmer in Cashland. I have land along the railroad track, so you probably know my opinion on that. So I'm not coming here on that issue so much. The one thing I don't like about, they mentioned eminent domain. I don't like that idea. That always steps on somebody's toes. And then where do you end it? What else are we going to eminent domain? Where does it go? I'm here as the mayor of Cashland. I happen to be the mayor there. And I'm a little concerned, maybe more surprised that we haven't had anybody from the board stop in to say anything about the railroad. It goes right through town. Well, I thought maybe there'd be a little more concern what maybe we as the village thought, and I really, they don't even know I'm here. I just know about this railroad through being a landowner. As far from public, I don't even know how many people actually know about it. It seems to be quite a hush-hush thing. So we have a board meeting coming up. I'll probably bring it up to them. I think maybe out of respect, I don't know how they feel, the board of Village Cashman. I don't know if it makes a difference how they feel. So that's my concern, being we're halfway between Laurel. There's no way off between Laurel and Cashman or Cashman and Carthage, except maybe in Deer River you can get off. I'm not sure. I think you could, maybe in Deer River now. So I don't know. I don't know how water will affect Cashman. I don't know what people that live near where they're gonna go through, what they think. We don't know nothing, so that's my concern. I hope you respect that. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
When's your next village board meeting?
Our next village board meeting is the 14th.
What time does that start at?
It starts at 7.
And Mr. Mosier, this has not been done in the dark. We had a PowerPoint presentation at the last public meeting, and we've sent out several notices requesting meetings, and we have not been able to get anyone at the table to do that. I'm sorry if you
Well,
included in that email, but you will be going forward.
I know, well, in the village of Cashman, we're a lot smaller than you are for our county, so we can do things different. But we went through an issue where it was brought up, they want to spray for mosquitoes. Well, we sent the letter out to all the people, but you know how that works. You don't get a big supply back, but at least we got some back enough that we could move one direction or another with concerning the other people. They have to come back half and half. So that gives us a pretty good lenient, okay, we can move forward or we can move not. But I know you probably can't do that for the whole county, but you don't get a lot of response back either. So that's just my concern. Thank you. What you do?
I believe Mr. Gilbert will be in contact with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like privilege of the floor? Is there anyone that would like to comment on the 2 public hearings? The first one, local law number 1-2022, containing additional mortgage tax for mortgages on real property situated in Lewis County. Anyone like to comment on that? Findings of the current CDBG project number 636 MH353-19, Lewis County Manufactured Housing Replacement Program. Anyone like to comment on that? If not, we will close those 2 public meetings. And we will move on to presentations of petitions, communications, and notices. Cassandra, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolutions were received from Clinton and Essex County opposing the passing of Conservation Subdivision Design Bill S 1145 and A 474. Orleans County sent copies of the following adopted resolutions. Resolution in support of raising the child care subsidy rate and increasing the total allotment to social services districts in order to improve equitable access to child care across New York State. Resolution urging the governor and New York State Legislature to restore critical state funding support for child welfare services, safety net programs, and to fully fund the recent foster care rate settlement with state resources. Resolution urging the governor and state legislature to focus on rent allowance and standard of need, including restoration of 50-50 cost sharing for safety net programs and clarifying its homelessness prevention goals by making permanent housing the central focus. Legislators received a letter from Mr. Ronald Burns informing them that he will be stepping down as Lewis County legislator for District 3 effective June 1st, 2022. He felt that his anticipated absences or personal obligations would be a disservice to the people in District 3 and to the board as a whole. It has been his honor to work with the entire board. He concluded by thanking the people in his district for their support and confidence as their voice in county government. An email from Mr. Jason Chrisman of Chrisman Fuel Service was received by all legislators asking them to consider changing the sales tax rate on motor fuels and diesel motor fuels, citing reasons such as the increase in cost, which equates to increased sales tax revenue, New York State reducing their portion of the sales tax rate to zero, Jefferson County electing to change their rate to a flat 12 cents per gallon starting June 1st, 2022, and Lewis County businesses being at a big disadvantage compared to Jefferson County businesses by having to pay 5 cents higher per gallon of gasoline and 12 cents higher per gallon of diesel fuel. An email from Mr. Kevin Kapfer was received by all legislators stating his concern about a condemned building at 4160 State Street in Turin that still has individuals residing there, as well as the lack of code enforcement in Lewis County. All legislators received a letter addressed to County Manager Pache from Mr. Dan Solomon in response to a letter Mr. Pache wrote to the Village of Lowell concerning the leadership and attitude thereof. Mr. Salmon cited several infrastructure improvements that have been made by the Village of Lowell since the 1990s. He spoke about the requirements for using the Veterans Park for Community Cup as being the same for anyone who would hold an event there. He cited a letter sent on March 9th from Mayor Beagle asking for assistance from the county on their summer recreation program, which wasn't responded to until May 27th. He spoke about being supportive of a community center, but questioned whether the county had support from all legislators and what other municipalities are willing to do. He then suggested that in lieu of tax revenue, the county should support whatever financial means are needed. He spoke about supporting the Cream Cheese Festival, both by providing police protection as well as financial support, pointing out the county has done neither. He spoke about how the Village of Lowell Police Department is present at the Lewis County Fair. The village DPW has an agreement with the American Legion to do snow removal, which creates extra parking spaces. The veteran flags in the past were put up by the village DPW, but it's grown to more than 20 flags, and due to insurance reasons, they are not allowed to use the county bucket truck. In closing, he hoped that County Manager Ryan Pache would better understand the diligent efforts that the Village of Lowell has done for the county, village, local industries, and county residents. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Cassandra. Reports of county officers and departments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Legislators received the monthly treasurer's report, monthly highway and solid waste audit reports, and Brian Mooney, Sealer of Weights and Measures, submitted the April 2022 report, which has been placed on file with the clerk of the board. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Reports of standing committees. Tom, would you like to start us off with financial rules, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report at this time.
Any questions for Tom? Thank you, Tom. We move to Ian with general services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report this evening.
Any questions for Ian? If not, we'll move to Lisa with health and human services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one motion to authorize purchasing director Brian Hanno to prepare and send out an RFP for leasing the new section of the Glenfield School property. I'll make that motion if I can get a second.
Moved by Lisa, second by Dick. Discussion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
And that's it for me.
Questions for Lisa?
How did you break your foot? Attempting to play volleyball for the community cup that we lost, the whole thing.
You signed that waiver, right?
Should join the euchre team.
Yeah, next year it's euchre, trivia, maybe bowling, if I'm feeling, yeah.
What about your game boys?
Yeah, exactly, so maybe no bowling.
Okay, we'll move to Dick, the board's representative on non-hospital board manager.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got a couple of things I'd like to share with the board. First off, the employee of the month for April is Pamela Foster. She's food service helper. And you can see her in her duties up there. Congratulate her on employee of the month. We also recognized Miss Jacqueline Beagle for 27 years of service at Lewis County Health Systems. And you see Jacqueline around the community, wish her well and thank her for years of service. Rob Utendowski, our Director of Information Systems, shared an update on our Meditech 2.2, which is our copies of our system for finance and operating at the hospital. Some of the benefits is it's going to increase the help with nursing home medication management, desktop cost reduction of $50,000 a year, support complexity reduced in most cases, which means people can now do their own work on it because they understand how the system works. There's a significant development in the nursing module, nursing user platform, and platform shifts for all of the users. Mr. Jeff Hellinger, our CFO, noted there was a loss of $119,660 for the month of April, but the budgeted loss was $349,304, so we were considerably lower than that. And the loss is $16,571 versus budget for the year, which is $262,491. We have a live feed site. If you go to www.lcgh.net, you can watch the project progress on our new expansion live at your house anytime you want, 24 hours a day. Again, that's www.lcgh.net. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Our hospital CEO, Jerry Caver, is here. Do you have any additional comments?
No additional comments, thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to our short-winded county manager report.
Good thing you came with me to 5 minutes.
Can you get a new one? Just remember who does the budget.
I will keep it very short today. Obviously the various projects that the county has going on has dominated the majority of the staff's time over the last month. As Jim and Nick pointed out, our facilities improvement project continues to move forward. I would encourage each of the legislators, if you have time, to take a run up to our Stowe Street campus and our Highway Department campus. There's at this point, you'll really notice that things are happening. Foundations have been poured, some walls are up. So we're certainly moving along. In addition to that, we've got all of our other 2022 goals that we've been working on. This evening you're going to be voting on some initiatives for broadband, which are moving along very nicely. Our Ag Sustainability Committee continues to meet and has put together some really great recommendations with the consultants we've been working with. The EMS Ad Hoc Committee has had a meeting and is working in the right direction. We really do have a lot going on at the county. All of our staff members are really busy right now and working hard. This summer, we're running at full capacity. So that will be my report for today. Thanks.
Any questions for Ryan? If not, thank you. And we'll move to the county treasurer report.
Thank you very much. I provided a written report. I would just call your attention to the notes at the bottom, and one I would highlight is an update on our annual property tax foreclosure auction. We are scheduled for August 24th. At this point, the process is moving forward. The next step is our court proceedings to actually foreclose on those properties. So we kind of need to wait for that process to continue through the court. Hopefully it will move along, and we'll keep that August 24th date. If you have any other questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Any questions for Eric? If not, we'll move on to the report of the Financial Rules Committee for Rule 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee reports that they have examined the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $1,120,974.53 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
Would someone like to move that, please? Andrea, second by Josh. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carries. Okay, resolutions. Does anyone have a resolution that they would like to hold from the slate?
Is 124 been mentioned? I'd like that one.
Okay, so we have 116, 118, 120, 122, 139, 140, and now 124.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to point out that resolution number 139 is being withdrawn.
Okay, thank you. So, no others? Motion to pass the remaining as a slate. Lisa, second by Ian. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Slate carries. And we are back to number 116.
Resolution number 116, auditing and allowing claims in the amount of $1,120,974.53.
Moved by Lisa, second by Josh. Discussion. This is roll call.
Legislator Osborne.
Aye.
Legislator Chartrand.
Yes.
Legislator Nellenbach.
Yes.
Legislator Berkler.
Yes.
Legislator Levicker.
Yes.
Legislator Morahan.
Yes.
Legislator Gilbert.
Yes.
Legislator Hathaway.
Yes.
And Legislator Dahlhoff.
Yes. Moving to 118.
Resolution 118, it's a resolution adopting and otherwise treating local law number 2-2022.
Moved by Lisa, second by Ian. Discussion. I'd like to mention that this is not a new law, this is a continuing law that the state requires us to renew it. I think it's every 3 years. And it's nothing new. It's the end of the discussion, this is roll call also.
Legislator Berkler.
Yes.
Legislator Gilbert.
Yes.
Legislator Morahan.
Yes.
Legislator Nellenbach.
Yes.
Legislator Hathaway.
Yes.
Legislator Chartrand.
Yes.
Legislator Levicker.
Yes.
Legislator Osborne.
Yes.
And Legislator Dahlhoff.
Yes. Number 120.
Resolution awarding bid and authorizing agreement between the County of Lewis and Northern Pioneer Contractors for the courthouse heated sidewalk project.
Someone like to move that, please? Lisa, second by Tom. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries. 122.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to put this on the record that resolution number 122 has a typo in the title and in the body. It should say 2021 through 2023. And it was accidentally put in there as 2021 through 2022.
So that being a typo, we do not need to amend it?
No, I will make that correction.
Okay. Someone like to move that? Lisa, second by Bill. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 124.
Resolution authorizing professional services agreements for railroad line acquisition project and appropriating ARPA funds for recreation projects.
Moved by Ian, second by Lisa. Discussion.
I don't know where I stand on rails trails at this point, but in this particular resolution, I think is doing due diligence because we need to know the the status of these rails. And if it's even feasible to do a rails to trails, or if it's feasible to have a regular train run on it. I think this is an important part of understanding what we have for rails in the county. As, again, doing our due diligence, whatever we decide in the future.
Yeah, I agree. We've got to do some more research, and if this is part of it, I have trouble comprehending that we take over the entire rail system and what sections become what. I just can't wrap my head around that. The comments we've heard tonight, maybe the double play situation is more important than the rails to trails. I don't know. But if we've got to research it further, I think we need some more input meetings.
Yeah, I didn't speak during the public comment because we normally don't, but I would like to speak to it as a legislator because we're gonna vote on it tonight. And some pieces, I've been in favor of this since I became a legislator, I believe. And some of my reasons are quite personal, but I need to share them with this and with the people out there. My wife is alive and with me today through the grace of God. She got hit riding on Route 12, shoulder 10 foot wide by a tractor trailer. There's another gentleman that was here earlier and he's gone. I don't want to introduce. His wife got hit with a pickup truck on East State Street and dragged about 2 blocks. She almost died. There's one more gentleman in the audience that lost a nephew running track for Deer River. This railroad has a lot of different uses. One of them is to provide for our children, which I heard out here tonight, and give them an opportunity to recreate and train without doing it on the streets and public highways of Lewis County, where it's very dangerous. The other thing with this, I don't believe there's a railroad or locomotive with freight been driven on that railroad in 30 years. And I say that because the gentleman that was the lead engineer on there is a good friend of mine, and that's the date that he gave me. I applaud Phil for what he said because, as we mostly know here, this is exploratory. We're looking to see if it makes sense to even have that. It may not make sense to have it. I personally travel a little bit. Somebody else in here must travel. You go any place around here and you've got trails. I got pictures of a 71-year-old with a walker. I stopped and talked with him. I said, "What are you doing, sir?" And he said, "Well, down here 2 miles is a coffee shop." So he said, "I take my walker and I walk down there every morning. It takes me a couple hours to get there." But he said, "That's my social for the day. I have lunch and I walk back." People use rails to trails. And so we need to know, first off, for the people that don't even want it, are the rails safe? Could you run a locomotive in today's weights and standards on that railroad? The people from GVT have told me, when we surveyed the railroad, the steel was too small, too light in the rail to service for rails to trails with a locomotive. But we're going to, I believe, talk to different communities. I would imagine we'll talk to all the landowners, or at least send them a letter to come and visit with us, give us their concerns and maybe some ideas of what can be done. I know one gentleman said in here he had trouble getting from one side of his property to the other. Well, that's because the railroad is very strict on what you can and can't do as a farmer working on that. I've got a couple of relatives that farm along the trail as well. If we have it, we could make an arrangement with that farmer so that he could cross that trail to get his crops done with doing the 2 fields together. Right now, that's pretty hard to do in some cases. So there's a lot more to come out and be done with the rails to trail. If we don't vote this in tonight, we can't even find out what we don't know. So I'm for one, going to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Any other comments? Ian?
Mr. Chairman, I prepared some comments as well. It started as a few bullet points and then somehow managed to get on 2 pages, but I'll email a copy to.
Now you're like me.
Ryan, say you should be like, take your time.
Yeah, there you go.
And I do, and hopefully this will address some of the points that were raised this evening by the public. But we've all had months now to consider this project and hear from constituents. In addition to the results from the community survey that we put in the last few years, I've received messages, calls, emails, Facebook messages, and had many face-to-face conversations with taxpayers in the district. Among those people who reached out, there's a range of opinion. And I think sometimes when you're looking for opinions, you can fish and try to get the opinions. These are people who came to me who wanted to share their thoughts on it. Some support it as a necessary step in building on our recreational tourism industry as a major employer and source of revenue. Others view it as something that they hope to utilize and enjoy. And a number of people with properties adjacent to the project, and even ones without adjacent properties, they oppose it in its entirety and have raised legitimate concerns about the impact this project would have on their own adjoining properties and businesses. And then also raising practical concerns like safety and costs and other things like that. I intend to vote for this resolution and would like to put on the record my reasons for supporting it. First of all, I think the community does support it, though admittedly the people who support it, I think, are not as fully vested in the outcome as the neighboring landowners who oppose it. And I'm generally the last person to suggest that the minority needs to bow to the majority, but the state's authority to use eminent domain, or the county's, for projects that benefit the public is well established. In fact, the founders wrote the eminent domain power right into the Constitution. This is not a new concept, but it's a long-standing part of our nation's history and laws. Our 2019 community survey showed that 81% of the public support converting existing railroad beds or tracks to public recreational multi-use trails. In 2022, we ran the question again, and I'm quoting the exact statement. I support county government effort to convert existing railroad beds and tracks to public recreational multi-use trails, both motorized and non-motorized. You couldn't get more clear than that. Of that statement, 80% of the public in Lewis County agreed with it, while 10% disagreed. And interestingly, that number actually increases to 85% when you poll people with household incomes below $50,000. If you look across the political spectrum, very little difference. This is not an issue in which there's a political divide. There's strong support across the spectrum for it. We can argue about the methodologies, but it's hard to get to a number like 80%, by cooking the books. On balance, I think, and number two, I think on balance, the benefits of the public substantially outweighs the negative impacts this would have. And that's a lot of what we do here, is weighing the benefits versus the negatives. We'd be looking at more jobs immediately with the initial construction effort, long-term growth in our hospitality industry. The 2022 OHV study connected 97 jobs, $2.8 million in employee earnings, and $8.3 million in total sales to recreational activity in Lewis County. The connection points with Fort Drum and Jefferson County in particular will bring in more tourists and fill a need where there is definitely a need right now. Right now, we generate an estimated $140,000 in annual direct tax revenue from OHV activity. This is set to increase as the industry continues to grow in New York and will offset other revenue sources. If we do not accommodate that growth, it is just revenue that will be lost to other counties and states. So we either move on it or we let somebody else collect it. We should consider that there are tools at our disposal, and just to the balance question, to mitigate or eliminate the negative impacts of a multi-use trail corridor. I'm not an engineer. I don't even own an ATV or a snowmobile. Very rarely do I do it. And I'm not a farmer, certainly. But some of the ideas that I've thought of and I talked to with other people, it's set locations and times at which ATV access is prohibited. In particular, during spring season when cows are out to pasture, having a schedule of hours and days when ATVs are prohibited could help the noise and trespass concerns. Number two, granting farmers whose lands are bisected by the rail lines free licenses to cross with animals and farm equipment at certain designated locations. Currently, crossing the rail line without permission is a criminal trespass. If the county owns the bed, we can and should permit adjoining landowners to cross as needed. Three, I know this was mentioned, but potentially swapping out portions of the line for more favorable corridors. That's something we should be open to as a county. And then, of course, investing in fencing, barriers, trail markers, more patrols, all of those things I think would help mitigate some of those problems that we've had. But all of this will require a willingness to cooperate by and with landowners. We need that information. Come to us, call us, let's set up meetings and figure this out. So my third reason, as a county, we lack a proper multi-use trail network, and this is an opportunity for us to diversify beyond motorized recreation towards options that could appeal to a new subset of residents and guests. Specifically, biking, running, as Dick raised, horseback riding, rail cars, especially between Croghan and Beaver Falls, where they have that very nice line right now. And I'll say to the credit of the Rail Museum, I went on the Iron Horse this last, I think it was last spring with Junior Grades. We had a wonderful time. I think that there's ways we can accommodate that into a project with the size of the corridor that we have there. Cross-country skiing would be another option. There, we focused a lot on motorized recreation. There's other options for use here. And I think having a well-regulated county-owned trail corridor connecting the major villages will go a long way in curbing some of the problems we've seen on other parts of the trail system. More trails could mean less ATV density, less of a load and less of a burden on the trails that currently exist. I received a call from a constituent who complained about the ATV users who are currently using the rail line. They're not supposed to be doing that. We don't have any patrols on the rail line because it's not ours. If we own it, we can send patrols out. We can make sure that people are following the rules, staying on the corridor right now. So I think that if the county owns it, that'll only make that problem better. It won't make it worse. Final thoughts here. And I'll just kind of get to the meat here. But one of the biggest problems I see in the government sector is an unwillingness to take risks and engage in big projects. America rose to greatness on the world stage thanks to ingenuity, inventiveness, and risk-taking, which led to rapid industrialization when it came to things like building canals, dams, and railways. In fact, the railway that we have here was originally the product of eminent domain. Projects like the Erie Canal, the interstate system, the Hoover Dam were controversial at the time, but it's hard to think of America without appreciating the importance of these endeavors. Our national leadership and special interests are sometimes so sclerotic and major projects face so many hurdles that we're in serious danger of getting overtaken by more dynamic places, even places like China, which a generation ago would have been unthinkable. It's something that's on the horizon. And while admittedly Rails to Trails is a small project in the grand scheme of things, it is big for us. In my judgment, this is the right thing to do and the right time, if we do it intelligently. We must engage with constituents and also be willing to work together to meet needs within our own departments, especially with the Sheriff's Office. For those reasons, I will vote in favor of the resolution. I also want to extend an invitation to meet with me and the county manager with any constituents in my district with land along the railway. I've extended this to several people, like I said, and I hope to have some meetings on that soon. So again, I'm voting in favor of this resolution. I support this project. And I'd like to see us move forward on it and also begin the steps that are necessary to make sure that we're doing this the right way.
Thank you, Ian. Anyone else? I'd just like to emphasize what Phil stated, that this is not a resolution to acquire railroad. It is a continuation of our due diligence to figure out if this is something that we should pursue or is even possible. So, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 140.
Resolution authorizing an agreement between the County of Lewis and Gold Star Security LLC for recreational trail security, safety, and surveillance services.
Moved by Lisa, second by Dick. Discussion.
Just a quick question, and I wasn't on the committee and I was interviewed, but this is mostly stemming from landowners' concerns. Correct, this is from meetings, this is sort of what an actionable item that
Yeah.
taken.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement from landowners, from local municipal leaders, from our snowmobile and ATV clubs. think that this is something necessary for us to do. And this doesn't, at least from my perspective, this doesn't supplant our efforts to continue to get more policing on the trails as available, and also hiring more part-time deputies, hopefully. But I was in the meeting, and I know Andrea and Phil and Larry and Ryan were with Gold Star. I think we were very impressed with the services that they had to offer. They had experience providing patrol in a park setting. They have their own equipment which they can provide. And I think that they will work very well with our local law enforcement. Really, they see themselves as functioning kind of as the eyes and ears to be able to work in tandem with them, report things back in, act as a general deterrent, and also a conduit of communication with landowners. I think there's a lot of benefit there.
We had a presentation where the snowmobile clubs kind of requested more attention, I guess, to the trails to help slow down some of the things. And it's my understanding that somebody else from the state government sent the sheriff a letter encouraging him to increase his participation in patrolling our trails and stuff. So this will allow us to do it at a lesser cost. We couldn't put 4 deputies out there for what this is costing here by the time we pay them and overtime and benefits and everything else. So it's a savings from the taxpayers as well as it gives more safety on the trails.
Was there a discussion on where they would patrol or who would determine where they would patrol or?
The selected company made an opening statement type thing, that they would go out to the landowners, and particularly ones that had problems, so then they could ascertain the hot spots, so to speak. And that was a good thing, that we need to be protecting the landowners that are allowing this to happen. And and one other thing that they are able to supply, and the other company was good too, that either one would work. But Ian had asked them about medical services, and all of them, and with this company, are trained in first aid and CPR, which was an important issue, for them to be out on the trails to be able to do something for that.
So just to add to that, to directly answer your question, the company will report through Jackie Mahoney's office, and then, with that respect, through me and the Board of Legislators. As Phil mentioned, we probably direct them to hot spots and areas that, we're trying to work with the state to open up more of their vast property in Lewis County that is highly restricted to access. The more we can convince the state that, we can patrol those areas and keep their assets safe, the more we're going to be able to work with them. So.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nay. Show Jeff opposed, and Phil, and the motion carries. And that, I believe, is the end of the resolutions. We have a proclamation commemorating June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Lewis County. Cassandra, if you would read that, please.
Whereas older adults deserve to be treated with respect and dignity to enable them to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and vital participating members of our communities. And whereas in 2006, the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, in support of the United Nations International Plan of Action, proclaimed a day to recognize the significance of elder abuse as a public health and human rights issue. 2022 marks the 16th annual World Elder Abuse Awareness Day to recognize and promote a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older adults. And whereas the National Center on Elder Abuse, Lewis County Department of Social Services, Lewis County Office for the Aging, and Lewis County Opportunities recognize the importance of taking action to raise awareness to prevent and address elder abuse. In 2021, there were 68 referrals to Adult Protective Services. And whereas ageism and social isolation are major causes of elder abuse in the United States, preventing abuse of older adults through maintaining and improving social supports like senior centers, human services, home-delivered meals, and transportation will allow everyone to continue to live as independently as possible and contribute to the life and vibrancy of our communities. And whereas, as our population lives longer, we are presented with an opportunity to think about our collective needs and future as a nation, recognizing that it is up to all of us to ensure the proper social structures exist so people can retain community and societal connections, reducing the likelihood of abuse. And now therefore, I, Lawrence Dahlhoff, Chairman of Lewis County Board of Legislators, do hereby proclaim June 15th, 2022 as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Lewis County, and encourage all of our residents to recognize and celebrate older adults and their ongoing contributions to the success and vitality of our community.
Thank you, Cassandra. Does anyone have anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I want to mention briefly just this weekend, at the fairgrounds is the Beaver Camp auction, Friday night. Fireworks, food trucks, I'll be scooping ice cream and serving pie. And Saturday, more quilts than you've ever seen, local furniture. Come out and support a good cause. I invite anybody and encourage the community to come out and support this great organization too.
Were you making the pies or serving?
I'm not making them, I'm just serving them.
It's safer that way. Motion to adjourn. Dick, second by Lisa, all in favor? All right. We are adjourned.